Hello and welcome. I am Gimba Umar. Tonight, fight against corruption intensifies as court orders former Director General of Nimasa to be remanded in prison over alleged 3.4 billion naira fraud. INEC gets set for supplementary elections in Kogi State, says the preparations are in top gear for Bielsa's governorship polls as well. President Muhammadu Buhari arrives in South Africa for China-Africa Cooperation Forum to renew talks with Chinese presidents on infrastructural development. And South African court overturns earlier manslaughter verdict on Olympic athlete Oscar Pistorius, declares him guilty of murdering his girlfriend Reva Steenkamp.
On business news, after 5 straight days of bearish run, the Nigerian Stock Exchange stages a comeback.
And on sports news, Nigeria's Super Eagles plummet in the latest rankings of football nations released by FIFA, drop out of Africa's top 10.
The Supreme Court has fixed February the 5th, 2016 to determine the appeal seeking to quash the 13-count criminal charge preferred against the Senate's President, Dr. Bukola Saraki, by the federal government before the Code of Conduct Bureau. The Apex Court adjourned to deliver judgments on the appeal after it entertained arguments from both Dr. Saraki and the federal government today. The Senate President is facing trial over allegations that he falsely declared his assets contrary to the constitutionally required requirements. He was also accused of deliberately manipulating the assets declaration which he filed prior to his assumption of office as the Senate President by making anticipatory declarations of assets as well as operated foreign bank accounts while in office as a public servant.
The composition of the Code of Conduct Tribunal was the subject of argument in the appeal filed by Senator Bukola Saraki, challenging his trial by a 2-man panel tribunal at the Apex Court. Lawyer to the Senate President, Mr. Joseph Daudu, argued that the Constitution stipulates that the Code of Conduct Tribunal, where Senator Saraki is being tried, must have 3 members, and anything to the contrary is unlawful. He argued that as at the time the Senate President was charged at the tribunal, there was no evidence that the Attorney General delegated his power to institute criminal charge to anyone.
We spent quite some time ventilating the 6 issues that came up for determination, which include the quorum of the court, whether the Attorney General had powers to initiate the charge, whether there was proper service on the defendant, whether the court is a court of competent jurisdiction, criminal jurisdiction, and whether they can apply the Administration of Criminal Justice Act. So we argued it well over 2 hours, and they've adjourned to the 5th of February for judgment.
Government lawyer Rotimi Jacobs in his submission asked the court to dismiss the appeal for lacking in merit, saying that the tribunal panel was properly constituted as 2 can form a quorum. He asked the court to resolve the issue in favor of the federal government and order Senator Saraki to go and face trial at the Code of Conduct Tribunal.
2 members of the panel can conveniently sit and legally sit as members of the tribunal in line with the constitutional provision, in line with the Interpretation Act. We have also submitted that the Code of Conduct Tribunal is a court of criminal jurisdiction, though limited criminal jurisdiction.
The Senate President had filed an appeal before the Apex Court, challenging the judgment of the Court of Appeal, affirming the jurisdiction of the Code of Conduct Tribunal to charge him on a 13-count charge of false declaration of assets.
A federal high court sitting in Lagos has ordered to remand in prison the former Director General of the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, Nimasa. Mr. Patrick Okpobolo-Kemi and 9 others were arraigned before the court on a 30-count charge of stealing and laundering about 3.4 billion naira. They have all pleaded not guilty to the offence. Meanwhile, fresh facts reaching us at Channels Television indicates that the EFCC will arraign the former Nimasa DG on another fresh 21-count charge at the Federal High Court tomorrow, Friday, December the 4th. Our judicial correspondent, Shola Shoele, reports.
The former DG of Nimasa, 7 other persons and 2 companies were alleged to have conspired to convert various sums of money between December 2013 and July 2015. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, in a 30-count charge, says the offense is contrary to and punishable under the Money Laundering Prohibition Amendment Act of 2012. All the accused persons pleaded not guilty to the charges, and their lawyers asked the courts to admit them to bail. The prosecuting counsel, Rotimi Oyedepo, however, urged the court to refuse the bail application of the former Nimasa DG. He argued that the first accused person had earlier jumped an administrative bail granted him by the EFCC. He urged the court to instead order an accelerated hearing of the case, as the commission was committed to a diligent prosecution of its case against all the accused persons. In a short ruling, Justice Saliu Seidu granted the first accused person, the former DG of Nimasa, bail in the sum of 100 million naira with 2 sureties in like sum. The judge ordered that one of the sureties must not be lower than the rank of a director in the civil service, while the other must be the owner of a landed property at either Victoria Island, Kogi, or Banana Island. Justice Seidu granted the other accused persons bail in the sum of 50 million naira each, with 2 sureties each in like sum. The court also ordered that one of the sureties must not be lower than grade level 16 in the civil service, while the other must be a blood relation of the accused person. The judge also ordered the sureties to deposit their passport with the court's registry. Counsel to the EFCC declined to comment on the case, but lead counsel to the defendants, Senior Advocate of Nigeria Joseph Nwobike, says he's confident that the bail conditions will be met.
I've looked at the proof of evidence. It's an empty proof of evidence. It's just big in size and very small in content. There is nothing. Monies were approved by relevant authorities and those funds were utilized in the manner approved, and that's all.
In the meantime, Justice Seidu has ordered the accused persons to be remanded at the Kogi prisons pending the perfection of their bail terms. He adjourned the case to January 29 for trial. Shola Shoele, Channels Television News.
The trial of the former National Security Advisor Colonel Sambo Sasuki has again been stalled following the filing of a fresh application by the federal government seeking to stop the execution of the bail granted to the accused person. At the resumed hearing, lawyer to the federal government, Mr. Oladipo Okwesheyi, said that he had just been briefed to handle the case through a fiat of the Attorney General of the Federation. He also told the court that he has filed a new application seeking to stay the execution or further execution of the order of the court delivered on the 3rd of November 2015. Lawyer to the accused person, Mr. Ahmed Raji, however, objected to the hearing of the application. Justice Adeni Ademola subsequently adjourned the case to the 8th of December. A group of women today stormed the state office of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, in Kogi State, demanding that the commission declares the former APC deputy governorship candidate, James Faleke, winner of the November 21st election. The women, however, were dispersed after the resident electoral commissioner of the state and the state's commissioner of police met with them. Our correspondent, Larry Lasisi, who is in Lokoja, the Kogi state capital, now reports.
This is directly in front of the Kogi office of the Independent National Electoral Commission. The women say the commission erred by declaring the November 21st governorship election inconclusive.
It is INEC that has created the problem. If they did not declare election inconclusive, then it is a very simple process. There is a joint ticket of Audu and Faleke, and if the principal dies automatically, yes, he may not be elected, but the joint ticket will travel travel throughout Kogi State together, 21 local governments, and it was Audu and Faleke.
They say the demand is simple.
They should declare the result because it is conclusive. There's nothing inconclusive about this result. 41,000 APCs in the lead. They should declare the result. Saturday supplementary election, are they saying they want to call on a supplementary governor over 91 polling units? Is the governor going to rule over 91 polling units?
The women say they will remain here till their demands are met. Eventually, the resident electoral commissioner of Kogi State, accompanied by the State Commissioner of Police, arrived to speak with them.
We have heard you, and I'm happy you said federal INEC. We have heard, I hope you have brought any protest letter so that we can forward it. But as far as we are concerned, we are preparing for the 5th December election, inshallah, to conclude, because that is what the law has said, and it is the law that we have followed.
This morning we're expecting very important materials to enter INEC and are going to pass through here. For us in the Nigeria Police and who are in charge of security here, it may not be proper for you to be here while that is being done. It may not be safe for you. We are concerned about you as our mothers, as our wives, as our daughters. We are concerned about your safety. So I would like to thank you for having come. INEC has taken your grievances and headquarters were here. So please, I want to appeal to you you may now go back to your homes. We have got your grievances. The police will help you to clear the road for you as you go back. Thank you and God bless you all.
The women were eventually persuaded to leave as INEC continues its preparation for the December 5th supplementary elections. Lanre Lasese, Channels Television News.
In part 2 after the break, more on Saturday's elections in Kogi and Bayelsa states. Stay with us.